terrible top story. I can't believe that this Savannah Guthrie kidnapping story has not been resolved. I really was hoping by the time I sat down and joined you again after I had a great weekend. I don't know about you, but she's still out there. Here's a great update. WFAA, our news partner, they actually have a guy on the ground at the scene, and he does all the updates. Look, I'm just going to play, I hope you don't mind, I'm just going to play the full 2 minutes that they did on their morning show this morning, because it has the follow-up questions and all the new details here. And if you haven't been keeping up with it over the weekend, this is all you need to be caught up to where the story is right now.
Today marks 9 days, and the search for Nancy Guthrie, the 84-year-old mother of Savannah Guthrie, is still missing. And investigators are working to find any suspect in her apparent abduction.
Yeah, over the weekend, her children made yet another appeal to her potential kidnappers as we welcome in ABC senior investigative correspondent Aaron Kotursky this morning live from Tucson. Week 2 of this search, Aaron, and we know that details are scarce coming out, but what's the latest in this investigation?
The investigators don't have much to go on, is the truth, Mark. They do not have a suspect or a person of interest. They do not have a vehicle connected to the case. They did return here to Nancy Guthrie's home over the weekend. They were on the roof examining cameras. They towed a car. They were going door to door, interviewing neighbors, looking for additional home security footage. But because it's so dark, on purpose to accommodate the observatories in the mountains, they don't hold out much hope that home security cameras caught anything useful in that crucial 45-minute window from last Sunday when it's believed Nancy Guthrie was taken against her will. They noticed the doorbell camera that was disconnected. They know a camera captured an intruder inside, although wasn't set up to record an image of it. They know that Nancy Guthrie's pacemaker was disconnected from her phone, which was left behind. And as this investigation enters a second week, there are real concerns, grave concerns about her health and her well-being because she does rely on daily medication.
You know, Aaron, we got another message from the Guthrie family just pleading for her safe return. And it also comes with word of more ransom notes. What are you hearing about those?
So the FBI and the Pima County Sheriff's Department have been studying all of the notes that were received by local television stations here in Tucson, but they have not been able to validate their authenticity. But clearly the Guthrie family is grasping at anything to bring their mother home, and will do whatever it takes, they say.
Hoping for a good end to this story. Aaron Kotursky, thank you for joining us live from Tucson.
All right, I'm starting to think there's not going to be a good end. The window for a positive ending, is it already closed? I mean, how long can this woman survive without her daily medication, without her pacemaker tethered Bluetooth to her phone? So my heart is just sunk whenever I hear this story. You know, you ever think how nice it must be to be a sociopath? To be able to see like the suffering of your fellow human being and just be like, yeah, doesn't affect me. What was I concerned about? But this whole story is just brutal. I have some questions though. Like, what's the motive? Is this really just for money? If so, why Savannah Guthrie and not other people who have more money, who are probably more susceptible? If it's just about money, why would you go pick someone who is on TV so the story will blow up and there'll be all kinds of interest and everybody will know the story and everybody will know the name? Doesn't that make it a lot harder? So some people are bringing up these questions. I don't have answers for them. I hope this isn't anything political, because I hate the fact that we're bringing politics or who these people are or any sort of political angle on this while there's still a woman missing, an 84-year-old grandma that's missing right now. But what if the political conversation could provide a motive? Well, then kind of on the table then, isn't it? Because the claim here is Savannah Guthrie's husband is a Clinton operative. And by operative, I mean he joined his campaign for president in 92 after Clinton won. He had some position somewhere in the Clinton-Gore White House for all 8 years. And then afterwards, he went into business with him being a scrubber. PR consultant or whatever they call it. And so there's also mentions that suggesting Epstein contacts here. Now I just hit my forehead because like this, there's a poor 84-year-old lady. Can we just find her and let us know her status before we get into the rest of this? But for some people, anytime you mention the Clintons, their red flag goes up, and it always makes them wonder. But here, I don't have time here. Coming up next, I'll give you the rundown from an online one of these independent journalists that is doing the digging here. And what do you think the motive is? Is there a political motive? I can't rule it out. I'm not saying it's the probable, but I am saying it's possible when you look into this guy's background. It makes more sense than, hey, let's go kidnap somebody who's the mother of a famous person so the whole world will know and be looking for her. That doesn't make sense. That's really dumb. Granted, a lot of criminals are really dumb. It could really just be that's the case. But we'll go through the other side, the conspiracy theory on this, and see which one makes more sense. 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Hey there, welcome. I'm James Parker, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. You're home for Markley, Van Camp, and Robbins. Three handsome fellas that are coming up in about 2 hours. Well, our top story, sadly, is Savannah Guthrie's mom still missing. Really hope by the time I got back from the weekend, I could tell you the result of this. Because now the painful part is the limbo. You understand how painful that part is, not knowing? Because, look, if the mom's already dead, then this is just extra suffering, and then there's going to be the death announcement. You have to go through that whole phase of grieving. So this is just extra suffering for nothing if she's already dead. If she's alive, whoa, now it's just extra suffering, and at least she'll be okay at the end of this, but it's for nothing if she's alive. Now you're worried she's fine. Look, if she's... So it's just a lose. Try not to internalize this, like, what if this happened to me? I would just hate to be hanging in limbo like this. And the longer it goes, you think the likelihood of the mom being okay just diminishes by the minute. And then there's all kinds of little side stories on this, like, who are these evil demons that are floating fake ransom notes? Who are these monsters? Hey, look, there's a suffering person. Let's see if we can exploit it for money. Man, you forget you share the world. You share oxygen with these people. And then I don't like this other sort of side discussion that's happening where there's a bunch of people online saying, well, what about all these other missing persons cases that aren't getting as much attention? How come Savannah Guthrie gets more attention just because we know her name, just because she's famous? There's missing children out there and you're not getting into the news. Sorry, we don't have the bandwidth to be concerned about every missing persons case equally. But the pushback on that is maybe we're the problem. I'll tell you why these other missing persons cases just don't get attention. Because I can admit I wouldn't stop. I wouldn't give it as much attention if it wasn't Savannah Guthrie, if it wasn't someone's name I already knew, if it wasn't someone who already had a national profile. Yeah. It's not necessarily morally correct or ethically correct, but famous people get more attention, and if you're not used to that, then we're just going to have to move on without you. But here's the conspiracy theories, and I kind of cringe to say the word because so many of these conspiracy theories that we've heard over the last few years have been correct, or at least somewhat correct. Like even the Pizzagate conspiracy theory. Okay, maybe there's not like a pizza parlor with a basement where they're eating children or whatever, but there does seem to be a pretty solid pile of evidence that there is an elite pedophile ring that does do untoward things toward children and goes unpunished. So in this one, I just pulled a random independent journalist out of the hat. If you go on X, you can find about 28 of these. But this lady's called Proud Shrimper's Daughter, and she doesn't do any like amazing explanation. It's just the best one I found that doesn't have any cuss words.
Well, I'll tell you what, I went down a rabbit hole this morning. I had an extra hour before I had to get up and get ready for work. I went down the rabbit hole of Savannah Guthrie. Now, we've all heard about her mother being kidnapped out in Arizona, but I dug a little farther. Her husband, his last name is Feldman. He worked for the Clintons the 8 years they were in office, okay? He started a company called Grover Park. Basically, what they were scrubbers. They would scrub the internet of anything bad that they did not want the public to find out. They would scrape the whole internet. So when you did a search, you couldn't find out anything about it. How much you want to bet? Because the Clintons are going in front of Congress that they struck out to this guy because he was their cleaner. We've all heard about the 50-some-odd people that have had questionable deaths behind the Clintons. We've all heard about them. Not one person in this country has not heard about them. So how much you want to bet they want to keep this guy silent to get his mother-in-law back? So tonight I'll end up having to do some more research, but right now I don't have time. But if you have time today, please go down that rabbit hole because you are going to find out so much information. it's going to go boom in your head. You go, oh, hell, she might be on to something.
That is Proud Shrimper's daughter. And how come you're hearing about this, extra possible motive, possible connection to the kidnapping? Why are you hearing about this from some 70-year-old retired lady with dental issues and not from the investigative newsrooms from ABC, NBC, CBS, CNN, MSNBC, or even Fox News? So what do you think is the motive? Do you think we're going to find her? Is this connected to the Clintons? 800-288-9227. This is Mike in Wills Point. You're on WBAP.
Yes, sir. Good morning, sir.
Morning.
My question is, I have this whole thing is kind of shady because you mentioned the pacemaker. Okay, I've got one myself, and I have a monitor beside my bed that is read by my cardiologist 24/7. There is a specific crew, so to speak, that reads these information. And if anything goes wrong with this thing or me, they know it before I do. And to have it turned off, you have to go through some pretty good hoops with the doctors and the cardiologist to have it even turned off.
Okay, so, Mike, hang on. You're kind of an important guy to call in right now. So what happens if you leave your home? If you leave your phone at home and you go out of range of your phone? I don't know. Say you just go on a trip or you go to Six Flags. I mean, that's far enough from Will's point that you won't be tethered to your phone. What happens then? Does your pacemaker still work just fine?
Yes, it works just fine. Matter of fact, me and my wife went on a cruise about a year or so ago, and I did ask my cardiologist, do I need to take this monitor with me? He said, as long as you're away from it for about a week to 7 days, you're good to go. I said, what if that thing turns off? He said, we turn it off. You don't mess with it. We have to turn it off, and why would you want it turned off?
So there's no negative consequences from the pacemaker for this woman being separated?
No, sir.
Okay.
But if they turn that pacemaker off, it is virtually impossible to turn it off, just an individual, without going through a cardiologist. So,
well, thank you for helping us with that.
Something.
Thank you very much. Well, what do you think happened? Do you have a theory?
Man, I probably could tell you just what you were just talking about a while ago, but who knows what goes on in this world that we don't know about.
Okay, I'll take it.
Thank you, buddy.
Thank you. That's Mike in Wills Point. All right, so the pacemaker issue isn't a fatal one. 800-288-9227. What do you think the motive is? Is this connected to something political? I mean, I hate to have this discussion here, but if she's still missing and we can establish a motive, it might point us to who took her, and that's where the discussion is now. 800-288-9227. More on Savannah Guthrie's missing mom coming up. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Hey there. Welcome to the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. I am your host, James Parker. We're just about all caught up on the Savannah Guthrie mom story, and then we'll talk about an update on Trump's reaction to the video from last week and Super Bowl halftime breakdown. It's still coming up. But here's where it gets really tough. And as a human being, it's just, you feel so sorry for you because you think, what if this was your mom? What if you were in Savannah Guthrie's seat? How would you like to be sitting here with your siblings having to make Instagram videos? So I'm going to play you the one from last week because there's two deadlines. One of them clocked at the end of last week. One of them is today. I think it's 6 o'clock our time. I think it's 5 o'clock Mountain Time because they're in Arizona, aren't they? But look, this was, I'm going to play you two videos. This is from last week.
On behalf of our family, we want to thank all of you for the prayers for our beloved mom, Nancy. We feel them.
Whoops.
And we continue to believe that she feels them too. Our mom is a kind, faithful, loyal, fiercely loving woman of goodness and light. She's funny, spunky, and clever. She has grandchildren that adore her and crowd around her and cover her with kisses. She loves fun and adventure. She is a devoted friend. She is full of kindness and knowledge. Talk to her and you'll see.
The light is missing from our lives. Nancy is our mother. We are her children. She is our beacon. She holds fast to joy in all of life's circumstances. She chooses joy day after day. Despite having already passed through great trials of pain and grief, we are always going to be merely human. Just normal human people who need our mom.
Oh my God, you mind if I stop this? I can't. Oh. This is painful. This is not the fun part of the news. Let me play the one that just got released concerning the deadline they're clocking today. Again, it's the three siblings, Savannah Guthrie's in the middle, with the guy on her right, woman on her left.
We received your message and we understand. We beg you now to return our mother to us so that we can celebrate with her. This is the only way we will have peace. This is very valuable to us, and we will pay.
That's the update. Brutal stuff. You know, some people, you get emotional about things like this. I had someone send me an email saying, hey, maybe Miss Parker should lock down her social media accounts because they're only on like partially private or they're discoverable or whatever. And I Miss Parker. I was thinking, dude, I'm not high profile enough for anyone to kidnap someone next to me and ransom them. I don't have any money. I have a 10-year-old Toyota with body damage. The most valuable thing I own besides a car is like a refrigerator. I don't have gold bars. I don't even think I have like 4 figures in my checking account right now. So no, don't worry about me. I know a lot of people have a tendency to internalize this, but that's just something most of us don't have to deal with. For those people out there on all the missing persons cases that don't get attention, I feel for you on that one. It's just, the world's not fair. It's kind of understandable. We put your missing loved one on the screen. It's not going to get nearly as much of attention. But I don't know. I feel sorry for that families hanging in limbo like this. I'll be interested to see if there is any sort of political question or if we do find out what the motive for this, whatever that is. But for now, can we just find the woman and put an end to this? Because this is breaking my heart. 800-288-9227. Coming up next, Donald Trump responds to the video controversy from Friday and my Super Bowl, mostly halftime review. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Hey there. Did you watch the Super Bowl yesterday? I'm James Parker, News Talk 820 93.3 FM WBAP. You're home for Mark Lee Van Camp and Robbins. I thought the Super Bowl was good. A lot of people don't like it when there's, few points scored. And when you got into the fourth quarter, it was only 12-0. It had been 4 field goals by Seattle, a big pile of squat from the Patriots. I like a good defensive battle. That was fine by me. Of course, Drake May got some cosmetic points at the end with 2 touchdowns. But I like a good defensive battle. I thought the teams played well. Thought it was good football. I think more of the discussion is being made of the halftime show, which is, I don't know, I kind of find that disappointing. Isn't this whole spectacle supposed to have us talking about football? Have you really done your job, NFL, promoting the great sport of football, if we're all talking about the halftime show more so than the actual Super Bowl itself? But here we are. So Bad Bunny was the NFL's choice. And remember, it's not the NFL's choice. At the end of the halftime show that we saw on NBC, it said this was brought to you by Rock Nation. Remember, the NFL has hired Rock Nation, which is just a shell corporation for Jay-Z. Jay-Z chooses the halftime performance. Why? Why do they have to outsource that and pay millions of dollars to Jay-Z to put this together? They don't. Why do they do it? I don't know. I really don't. If you want to just get everyone's suspicions up that there's a group of elites that can get away with everything and still be in all the positions of power, and Jay-Z's one of the shady guys that gets brought up in that, because he started dating Beyonce when she was like 16 or something like that, and he was 27. I forgot what the ages are, but I'm paraphrasing. It's something to that effect. There was a questionable age gap when they started dating, in addition to the fact that she was a minor. Same thing with Foxy Brown. He dated her before Beyonce. So he's been kind of questionable. He's been a guy that, is he on the Epstein list? Was he at the Diddy parties? The answer is yes and yes. But he gets to choose your halftime performance. Now, I am probably the only guy in Team Red Talk Radio that is a Bad Bunny fan. I like Bad Bunny. I think his politics are terrible, but that rings true for pretty much every musician I like. I mean, I can only listen to Kid Rock and Nicki Minaj so much, right? I love Ted Nugent, but there's a lot of other musicians I like that I find their politics absolutely abhorrent. What I was hoping for is this for being sort of a crossover, because Bad Bunny isn't like one entity. He's very much like the Latino Post Malone, where Bad Bunny is just as comfortable doing a rap song as he is singing a pop song, as he is doing country music. It's amazing. He's got a little bit of a range, but also he hosted Saturday Night Live, and he did it twice, barely speaking English. He was in Happy Gilmore. He was Happy Gilmore's caddy in Happy Gilmore 2. He's been all over the place. He's a known entity, but he is not an exclusively Latino artist. I mean Spanish-speaking artist. He does crossovers. So he did a song with Drake, and I was kind of hoping that somewhere during the halftime show that Drake would pop out, and that would connect the two worlds. That would be like, okay, the Super Bowl audience is majority not understanding what the hell's going on. But if you bring out Drake, then there's a little connection. Oh, okay, this isn't some foreign entity. This is just our neighbor, and while I don't understand what he's saying, there's a little cohesion and a little overlap and a little bit of a melting pot action. That didn't happen. But this is, for a lot of people, this may be the only song you know from Bad Bunny, but you don't know it because it's really Drake, and Bad Bunny happens to be on it. See, so that's Bad Bunny. Then, so there was another song that I thought maybe could tether it together, because he did a song with a group from Texas called Grupo Frontera. It means border group. It's not a political thing. I think they're from Fredericksburg, Texas. They're one of us. They just happen to sing in Spanish, and it's country music. They're wearing boots. They're wearing cowboy hats. They're playing a big old fat acoustic guitar. It has the same sort of storylines. Oh, my girlfriend broke up with me, and I'm so sad, and I can't stop looking at her pictures on my phone. That's every song that Grupo Frontera does. But Bad Bunny comes out, and remember, he's usually like a rapper or a pop star, some cross-dressing weirdo. But he can fit in well with the sort of rural country cowboy crew as well, and he didn't do that. Still, it's a little country song with the bongo in it, maybe accordion. But he was just saying, like, I've got 1%, meaning in his phone, but he's going to use the whole thing to tell you how sorry he is. It's a sweet little country song. Nope, didn't happen. It would have meant something to see Bad Bunny standing next to people playing acoustic guitars in a style of music that is adjacent to country music with guys wearing cowboy hats. They dress like they just walked out of Cavender's. That's how they dress. They're wearing pearl snap shirts. They got on the jeans. They're wearing boots. They look like one of us, really. They look like they would have fit in well at the TP USA halftime show. But he didn't do that. It was all Latin culture. It was none of the overlap. I thought that was a mistake. And then there's another song he did that, while the country stuff would appeal to, and I hate that the demographics or this stark would appeal to white rural Americans, the Drake stuff would have appealed to black urban Americans. And then there's Cardi B, which is sort of this mismatch because she's Hispanic herself, but she's from like New York or Dominican New Yorker. And that would have appealed to a whole different set of audience and demographics. But also, there's English. You could have had a song with some English in it. When this is Bad Bunny's part, he does the bridge. So if I have any criticism for it, it's that he had a chance to reach out. He had a chance to overlap. He had a chance to sort of make bridges here and say, hey, all you people that can't understand what I'm saying on some of these songs, look, here's actually a song that there's part English in it. So I'm not some disparate other. I'm just your neighbor. In fact, he's a fellow American. He's a Puerto Rican. He's in a unique position to bridge the gap. This is what I said about Obama with the Trayvon Martin situation. That was such a sad moment in American race relations history when Barack Obama came out and he said, if I had a son, he'd look like Trayvon. Because Barack Obama could have been that bridge, just like Bad Bunny could have been the bridge yesterday. Because Barack Obama's in the unique position that only a handful of us are in, to where he could have had a son that looked like Trayvon. He could have had a son that looked more like George Zimmerman, depending on who he decided to procreate with. So that's my disappointment. I think I'm one of the few people that watch both halftime shows. Because when you go on the internet, I can't believe we've politicized everything now. But the halftime show, people's take on it depends on whether or not you're on Team Red or Team Blue. And if you're on Team Blue, Bad Bunny was awesome and TP USA was cringe. And if you're on Team Red, the TP USA one was awesome and Bad Bunny one was cringe. I'll cover the TP USA halftime show coming up next. Your thoughts? Did you watch both? What'd you like better? Did you like the Bad Bunny? Did you like the TP USA? Your opinions welcome next. 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM WBAP. Hey there, fellow Texans. Welcome back. I'm James Parker on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Did you watch the Super Bowl last night? Did you watch the halftime show last night? Which halftime show did you watch? We're so divided in America, we can't even share a Super Bowl halftime show anymore, can we? I'm maybe the only guy that you're going to hear on this station today that says he's a fan of Bad Bunny. I am. I continue to be. I wasn't wildly offended by his the Latino antics. Because if you could understand what he was saying, he's like, oh, I'm so proud to be a Latino. And there's this standard discussion that we like to have on this show. It's like, wow, well, what if I said that about being a white fella? Would that get universal praise or condemnation? But I also was making, I watched it and I was pointing out a few ways where he definitely could have been a more connective tissue than divisive tissue. And he chose divisive and whatever. It's political. We knew it was going to happen. I knew it was politics. I have no problem separating the art and the artist. But I was kind of disappointed even as a fan. Now, I did watch both halftimes. The TP USA, it was pretty cool. Brantley Gilbert was good. Kid Rock was good. The girl in the middle, who was that? I forgot her name. The one that used to have the big butt, and then she had... No, not Cardi B. She wasn't at TP USA. No, it's the one that used to have a dump truck, and then she got on Ozempic, and Lainey Wilson. That's her name. Sorry, Why aren't you more help with that, Garrett? Aren't you supposed to be keeping up with beautiful young ladies like that? She's like your age. Yeah, okay. Fair enough. So, am I way off base here? 800-288-9227. I'm going to break down the TP USA halftime show because, it was good. But the end was great, and I'll play you that. It's just going to take a few minutes. Let me run through some calls here. Ron in Garland, you're next up on WBAP. What'd you think about the Super Bowl, Ron?
The Super Bowl, yeah, I like it. It was a good game. Turned out like I thought it would. Just real quick, I didn't watch the halftime. I wasn't about to watch this guy get up there. All this is about, man, is just a slap in the face to Americans. That's all it is. It comes from Roger Goodell. It comes from that Jay-Z. They're the ones that set it up. It's everything, just like years ago when they had the whole Black Lives Matter thing, the kneeling and all that. Same thing. What does this have to do with football? You tell me.
So these people are just either going along with the crowd or they genuinely think that they're fighting Nazis. They genuinely think America is this racist, hateful, misogynistic, evil place that oppresses people with its evil, exploitative capitalism and grinds workers underfoot and whatnot. So they think that they're being brave. They think that they're being noble. They think they're speaking truth to power, Ron. But what they're really doing is slandering the greatest and freest country the world has ever known, the most prosperous country the world has ever known, the country that has the greatest rights afforded to the common citizen that any form of governance has ever accomplished in human history. That's what they're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, what you said was right on point. It's good versus evil nowadays. That's all it is. Everything that happens nowadays is good versus evil.
Well, let me tell you what I don't like about that, Ron. Everyone that's against this isn't evil. Half of them, more than half of them, are just going along because they've never heard our positions from anyone on our side of the aisle. This is all they've heard, especially if you live in a big city. This is all you've heard from all your teachers growing up, from all the TV shows that you watch. I mean, look at how biased Netflix is with their gender changing, and they've got a trans person in every show, and they've got a gay person in every show, But if this is all you've heard from your favorite celebrities, from your favorite musicians and your favorite songs and your favorite movies, from your teachers to your professors to the people on MSNBC and CNN and ABC, CBS, NBC, it's quite understandable how they get it this wrong.
Didn't you tell me you was from, or not me, but everybody, from Bug Tussle or wherever?
Yes, sir.
Okay. From Bug Tussle, you come from common sense, right?
I mean, I like to think so. Yeah.
Okay. So you know what's good and what is bad. And so if people can't figure that out, then we do have a problem. And that's what's going on. I mean, they're programmed a certain way. I don't try to get into politics or anything like that. It's just, it'll wire me up pretty good. But, that's what it comes down to. They force everything down your throat. and then try to make it say, well, there's nothing wrong with that. Well, there is something wrong with that. That's why this country is screwed up the way it is, because there is something wrong with that.
Well, Ron, I think one thing that would help us all sort of digest what we see is to realize that for us, Jesus, Christianity, that's our religion. For them, their politics has replaced the hole in their soul where religion used to be. And so when they get together, because like this other story that I wasn't really planning on talking about this today, but there was a bunch of protesters in a Target again this weekend. And the part that's crazy about that is if you get together on a Sunday and you're singing hymnals with all your people on Sunday morning, and you get together precisely because you're like-minded. Was this it? Is nothing? No, that wasn't it. But I had these goobers singing in Target, and it really does sound like a hymnal. It really does sound like they're in a church service, and it's. Oh, here it is. Here it is. Yeah, I found it. Listen to these people. Does this not sound like a hymn?
My dear ones, here comes.
But it's just a bunch of gray-haired loser hippies in a Target griping about ICE. But they're singing. This is hymnals, y'all. This is their religion. And so I'm going to play. And thank you very much for your call. You're bringing up some great points, Ron. I appreciate it. That's Ron and Garland. But I'm going to play you at the end of the TPUSA halftime coming up in the next segment. They're in. It got kind of religious. Well, you shouldn't feel cringe about that. Because if politics is their religion, then half of their halftime show of all time are religious. This is why they don't want 10 commandments in the classroom. Your religion is going to supplant theirs. Their religion is having sex talks with 8-year-olds behind the parents' backs through dirty books in the library. Your religion is Jesus. These two things are not compatible. This is James in Puerto Rico. James, are you really calling from Puerto Rico?
Yes, sir.
Well, that's cool.
Well, my wife is Puerto Rican. I actually work down here. I won't say who I work for, but I deal with veterans down here all the time. And one thing I want to point out is there's a lot of good people down here. That's a definite for sure. However, Bad Bunny's not a representative of the people, the Puerto Rican people. What a lot of people here stateside don't understand is he is for independence of Puerto Rico, and he's hid a lot of things and made people. He's a leftist agenda seeker, and that's the only purpose why everybody pushed him so hard. We're for statehood down here, and a lot of people don't like that because they think that this is island of garbage. But there's we've got our fair share of issues down here. I never knew much about Puerto Rico either until I met my wife about 13 years ago, and I've had to live with buckets, take a shower out of a bucket, not having power, and deal with that. And I can understand why people have a bad persona about the island, but they're U.S. citizens like everybody else. And the sad part about it is, we've been fighting for statehood for so many years, and our veterans down here who have served, well over 200,000 live on the island, have served in almost every war nationwide from World War II. I believe we even had one in 1898, Spanish-American War, and World War I and II, and in Korea, the Bunkers, 65th Infantry, Vietnam, the Gulf War. These guys are good. They wouldn't give that patriotism up for anything. And if this island ever turned into its own country, it would fall through a sewer line in a minute, because the government here makes our government look like angels when it comes to spending. That's the biggest problem. And because it's an autonomous style government from the United States, so to speak, that's why there's not as much responsibility.
Real quick, James, I'm running out of time. So what'd you think about the halftime show?
To be honest with you, I've caught scenes of it, and the only thing American about it that I seen was the Ford pickup. That's the only thing American I got out of it.
All right. Well, good take.
I've done some reaction of it looking at it this morning when I got up.
Well, I think it's really cool you're listening from. I think it's really cool you're listening from Puerto Rico, James. I appreciate you calling.
For 14 years as a truck driver too.
Oh wow! Well, round of applause for James in Puerto Rico. Coming up next, I'm going to play the last 3 minutes of the TPUSA halftime show. It's the part that I thought the rest of it was good. I thought the end was great. You'll hear it next on the James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM WBAP. Hey there, welcome to the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. I am your host, James Parker. We're just going over the halftime shows from last night. TPUSA, Turning Point, the Charlie Kirk organization, had their alternative halftime show. And I thought they had a great advantage because the second the regular went to halftime and they flipped to commercial, we flipped over to the TPUSA one to see if it had started yet. You could tell they were watching the Super Bowl, and the second that they flipped to commercial, they waited about a minute or so, and then they started their act. And theirs went for a straight hour. So if you were watching that and you went back to Bad Bunny and watched the actual Super Bowl halftime show, as soon as Bad Bunny was over, you could flip back and watch the end of the TPUSA, which I did, and then I went back and watched the middle parts later. But the part at the very end was I mean, this is super emotional, but I think we forget that Kid Rock's actually talented. He looks like the trailer trash that used to bum cigarettes from you when you were at the bar in college. He doesn't look like he's very erudite. He runs around in a wife beater tank top. I mean, he looks like if a vape pen was a person. But what you don't realize is this guy can play every instrument. He has mastery of every instrument. And that's one of the things he's known for when he does live shows. He'll play guitar and he'll rip off a face-melting solo, and then he'll go get on the bass and he'll be slapping that sucker around and blow your mind. Then he'll get on the drums and he'll rock the drums and do a drum solo. The guy runs around and plays everything. I think he plays piano too. But and then he'll get on the turntables. He'll get on the ones and twos and do some scratching for you. So he's an immensely talented guy. I forget that because I see him as so much of a political animal now and just really a cartoon, like in a fun way, not as an insult. But he's singing this other guy's song. It's a song by Cody Johnson. It's called Till You Can't. And the lyrics are something that if you don't have your guard up, dude, it'll put a tear in your eye. Look, the regular song is a little more upbeat than what Kid Rock did. He did a slowed down sort of acoustic version of it. But let me just read you the first verse. You can tell your old man you'll do some largemouth fishing another time. You just got too much on your plate to bait and cast a line. You can always put a rain check in his hand till you can't. You can keep putting off forever with that girl whose heart you hold, swearing that someday further down the road, you can always put a diamond on her hand till you can't. So it's talking about, all these missed opportunities and living life. And then Kid Rock wrote an extra verse that's not in the original song. And it had a religious feel to it. And I thought this was powerful. And I'm sorry to just play you like 3 minutes straight here, but that's what it takes to cover the whole context.
Till you can, till you can. If you got a chance, take it while you got a chance. If you got a dream, chase it, 'cause a dream won't chase you back. If you're gonna love somebody, hold them as long and as close as you can. Till you can, till you can. You know how I woke one Sunday morning, all alone, with this song stuck in my head. And in that moment, something or someone spoke to me. They said there was still a verse that needed to be written for this song. And to get up and write it down. There's a book that's sitting in your house somewhere that could use some dusting off. There's a man who died for all our sins, hanging from the cross. You can give your life to Jesus and give you a second chance till you can. Till you can. If you got a chance, take it while you got a chance. If you got a dream.
All right, so that was part. If you have any emotion left in your soul,
If you're gonna love
That probably
somebody,
makes it pretty good. To the phones we go. Alan, Itasca, your thoughts on the Super Bowl? Go.
Hey, James. How you doing this morning, buddy? Hey, yeah, I didn't get to watch the Turning Point halftime show because I watched it with my family. We got a bunch of young kids. They want to watch Bad Bunny. One caller, or somebody said that, he missed a chance to connect. I think the NFL really separated a bunch of the root base for the NFL because we could participate in the halftime show because we couldn't understand it. So we watched that, and he did make one connection. He did have Lady Gaga play. So she was a part of his halftime show, so there was a little English thrown in right there. But I'm going to tell you right now, I'm glad that we didn't watch that Turning Point because we lost my father last August, and my whole family would have been bawling thanks to Kid Rock and his rendition of that song he just played.
Yeah, I'm with you. I hear you because I was looking at my dad. I watched it with my dad yesterday, and he's not in really good health. He's in his 70s, and I just kind of threw a sentence out there that I regretted. I was like, what if this is our last Super Bowl?
Exactly. So, but yeah, the NFL missed a real good chance to connect with their base after all the end zone messages and the back of the head messages that kind of put a little separation in the base of the football fandom. But now that they have Bad Bunny play, I mean, I was sitting there wishing I had subtitles just to figure out what he was singing about.
Yeah. Well, look, Alan, there's a lot of emotion that's just tied up into everything these days. And football used to be like the separation from it. Football used to be the thing where it didn't matter if you're white or black or Republican or Democrat. You're all in the stands and you're all wearing a Cowboys jersey. And if Jay Novacek gets a touchdown, you're high-fiving the guy next to you, and you don't care what his politics are. You don't care what his race is or his background or whether or not he's an immigrant. You're just Cowboy fans, and it used to unite us. But then all of a sudden they started taking a knee. They started lecturing us about racism in the end zone. The Rams came out with their hands up, don't shoot shirts on, and that didn't even happen. And so yeah, it's kind of been ruined. And here's something that we all might want to think about. I have some close friends. Thank you, Alan. I have some close friends who love football growing up. They're Texans, and they have dropped the NFL. And you know what they tell me? They don't miss it. It was a very important part of their life, and they'll always treasure that, and it'll always be good memories. But, you drop it and you go do something else on Sundays, you find out it really wasn't that important after all. You don't need the NFL. All right, coming up next, harrowing updates on the Savannah Guthrie mom kidnapping. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Hey there, welcome back to the James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM WBAP. I am your host, James Parker. My next guest is going to give us the straight news on the latest with the kidnapping case, we think, of Nancy Guthrie, Savannah Guthrie's mom. Betsy Brantner Smith with the National Police Organization coming back on the James Show. It's been a while. It's just terrible circumstances, Betsy, but good to see you again. Oh, what did I say? Organization? Yeah, okay. Sorry, I said that wrong. Well, look, be straight with me. I have a feeling the odds that we get Savannah Guthrie's mom back alive aren't looking too good. Okay, so you think there's a chance she might have just wandered off and these are fake ransom notes? Okay. So what do you think the likelihood is that she was kidnapped is less than 50-50? Yeah, well, the fact that there's more than one ransom demand tells you some of these people are lying for sure. Right, I agree with that. So, Sergeant Betsy Brantner Smith, National Police Association, talking about the kidnapping or maybe kidnapping of Savannah Guthrie's mom, Nancy Guthrie. Now, I just don't understand how the ransom process is supposed to work. You've spent a lot of years in law enforcement. Do you ever see ransoms go out as planned? I know. I saw the documentary Fargo, and that didn't look like it was too smooth of a process. I'm joking. I know it's not a documentary. So, Sergeant Betsy Brantner Smith, when you see the Instagram videos, police have been lied to so much that you guys are really good at sniffing out a lie. Does all of that seem genuine? Because for me, it looked genuine from Savannah Guthrie's Instagram videos. God, that's terrible. All right. The National Police Association, npa.org. Is that the right website? Nationalpolice.org. Thank you very much. Sergeant Betsy Brantner Smith. Let's have you back on more often. It's been too long. Thank you. All right, coming up next, Donald Trump responds to the very short-lived scandal about the perceived racist video that was shared last week. And I think you'll like what he has to say. You'll hear it next. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Trump responds to the sort of controversy over the racially perceived video. I'm James Parker, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. So it was a big deal in social media circles, but it didn't affect your real life one whit. It did give fodder for the people who are going to slag Trump anyway to put more arrows in the guy's reputation because if you're not familiar, a video was shared by Donald Trump on Truth Social about voter fraud and Dominion voting machines, and it was a minute-long video. And in the screen capture where they got the video, as soon as that was over, the first 2 seconds of another video starts playing, and it depicts the Obamas on the heads of animals, apes or monkeys. I don't know which one. I guess apes. But it was a video that if you watch the rest of that video, not just the first 2 seconds that popped up on the screen, it was sort of a Lion King remake where Donald Trump is the king of the jungle. He's strutting around as a lion. And all kinds of politicians are on all kinds of bodies of all kinds of animals. And so people thought that, whoa, we have something we can seize upon here. See, clearly Donald Trump's racist. He shared this video. No, he wasn't sharing that video. He was sharing another video, and that kind of got dragged along with it. It was sloppy. I find the association of the Obamas or any other black Americans or black people, period, as monkeys completely reprehensible. I acknowledge that there's a very ugly history that is tied to Democrats classically dehumanizing black Americans in such ways. It's not really endemic to the Republican side of the aisle, but I thought that warranted a mention. So it's amazing. Every time there's the accusation made, Donald Trump's a racist, it's easy to just go up to the guy and say, hey, Donald Trump, are you a racist? And see what he says. And it's not that it's never happened. They just don't like to play that part because the answer is no. Never does Donald Trump, just like you're always accused of being racist. Half the country's accused of being racist. Do you ever see the poll where Gallup or Pew or Rasmussen or somebody just does a poll of self-identified racists? How many people are racist in this country? How come you never hear that poll? But anyway, to his response, he was asked on Air Force One about the video. This came up with some follow-up questions. You know, they spent a lot of time on it. But I just want you to hear this very end, the very last question. This should be the end of it.
President, at the very least, do you condemn the racist parts of the video?
Of course I do. Yeah.
At the very end, do you condemn the racist parts of the video? He says, of course I do. Yeah. So there's the goalpost moving that we've all seen. When the video first came out and dropped, it was on the internet for hours before they deleted the post on Truth Social. And immediately the messaging out there was, it's not an accident. I know it looks like it was just a sloppy screen capture from a second video, but clearly he did it on purpose, and you know he did it on purpose, and you know he's not embarrassed about it, and you know he doesn't think it's wrong because he hasn't taken it down. And so then he took it down, and you turn around and you go, oh, okay, so do you take all that stuff back now that he did take it down? Is that proof that he didn't intend for that part of the video to be on there, and he doesn't approve of the messaging, and he doesn't approve of the content of that video, and he's not a racist? No, he's still a racist. There's no evidence you can give these people to come to the rational decision here. It doesn't matter how many times David Duke, racism, the accusation remains. There's a fantastic montage put together. I can't remember if this was Grabian or Newsbusters, but years ago, I'm talking like this montage is from right after Charlottesville. So you're going to hear him talk about Charlottesville. You're going to hear him talking about David Duke and whatnot. But I got a couple montages here to play. And they're both just Trump over and over and over condemning racism, and the media not buying it. Just not even, there's no uptake whatsoever.
He never said to white nationalists explicitly, and if he did, I can't remember it off the top of my head, but I don't think he did, he never said, I don't want your support. Don't vote for me. I don't think he did. I was there every day.
How do you feel about the recent endorsement from David Duke?
I didn't even know he endorsed me. David Duke endorsed me? Okay. All right. I disavow, okay? I totally disavow the Ku Klux Klan. I totally disavow David Duke. I've been doing it now for 2 weeks. You're probably about the 18th person that's asked me the question. David Duke is a bad person who I disavowed on numerous occasions over the years.
What he didn't do is say that he was not going to accept the support of any of these fringe groups.
I've rejected David Duke. I've rejected the KKK, the Ku Klux Klan. From the time I'm 5 years old, I rejected them.
Donald Trump refusing to condemn former Ku Klux Klan Grand Wizard David Duke. What do you see as the biggest problem with the Reform Party right now?
Well, you've got David Duke just joined, a bigot, a racist, a problem. I mean, this is not exactly the people you want in your party.
If he said on Friday, I disavow, why ask him again on Saturday?
Why not disavow David Duke, disavow the KKK? What's going on?
I'm saying to myself, how many times do I have to continue to disavow people? And the question was asked about David Duke and various groups. When I put out that I reject the KKK and David Duke, nobody picks it up. You know why they don't? Because they don't want to pick it up. I disavowed him on Friday. I disavowed him right after that because I thought if there was any question, and you take a look at Twitter, almost immediately after on Twitter and Facebook, they were disavowed again. I disavowed him every time I speak to somebody virtually, and, they just keep it going. They keep it going. I don't like any group of hate. Hate groups are not for me. But I've said this before. The press hates me to say it. They just don't want to pick it up.
So are you prepared right now to make a clear and unequivocal statement renouncing the support of all white supremacists?
Of course I am.
All white supremacists. He condemns all white supremacists over and over and over. And what does the media still say? He refuses to condemn. He still haven't condemned David Duke. He condemned him like 18 times in a row. Well, we still haven't heard a full-throated denial of white nationalists and neo-Nazis. By the way, this is him about Charlottesville.
You're changing history, you're changing culture, and you had people, and I'm not talking about the neo-Nazis and the white nationalists, because they should be condemned totally. But you had many people in that group other than neo-Nazis and white nationalists, okay? And the press has treated them absolutely unfairly.
Look, and I'll do it again, too. Racism is wrong. I condemn racism. I condemn white supremacy. I condemn racism when it comes from any side. And so if you are still having people argue against me, if anybody ever tells you, oh, well, James Parker's racist, number one, they're lying to you. Number two, why are they lying to you? Because something I've said, some facts I've proven does not fit their worldview. And there are no inconsistencies. There's just something wrong with your worldview. There's something wrong with the accusation. And you have to go through this too. False claims of racism. It's exhausting, isn't it? I think we're about done with that. Thank you very much for hanging out. Markley, Van Camp, and Robbins is coming up next. I'll be back on at 2 o'clock. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP.